What's up, everybody? Bootsy Greenwood here, and I am here to talk to you about how every ism is designed to control you. Well, it sounds a little bit nefarious, and I don't mean it to be that way, but I think we're going to start to see a little bit of a pattern here. So, like a lot of my work has to do with the idea that ideas themselves grow and create momentum, whether or not they're fueled by positive or negative attention and energy. That where attention goes, energy flows. And that there are energetic informational structures out there that sort of dictate, the group thought, the social sort of norm that's happening in society. These are known as egregores, pendulums. Energetic informational structures is the one I like a lot because it really shows how it collects together, right? If you've ever seen The Nothing, then think about how the nothing grows, the never-ending story. The nothing in the never-ending story, think about how that grows. The kids in that case, they don't dream, but think about like if you actively give attention and energy to something, how much of a difference that makes. And the more that adds up, where that goes, etc. and so on, right? Like there used to be something called the AFL, the American Football League, and there was also side by side the NFL. One of those won out because of attention. So one of them, basically all its followers or the people who adhere to that particular idea basically do its bidding, right? And we notice this when we get involved in big groups. No matter what that group is, we start to sort of begin to act like the rest of the people who belong to that group. We start to sort of saturate and soak in the culture of whatever that is, and then we start to display it ourselves. We're actually subconsciously changing and losing really our identity, right? And I don't mean that to be a negative way. There's nothing wrong with being a part of a group, right? But the point is to recognize it, okay? The point is to recognize it because a lot of these become social control structures, right? Mark Stavish talks about this, social control structures. So over time, the bigger this idea gets, okay? We can see this in political system or any sort of ideology. The bigger it gets, the more adherents, the more people who identify with that particular idea and then start to act on its behalf and do its bidding, and then the idea itself begins to grow and grow. And remember, these people become less and less the more they give over to this idea that's not their true self, the more they are losing their identity, their true expression. And this applies to every ism, right? So we have a lot of people in politics who don't like this ism or that ism, and they're for this or for that. I want to just throw out there's probably better ideas than we've even been offered, okay? First and foremost, right? You can't solve a problem at the level of consciousness that created it. And that's where most of us are on the social sort of spectrum where we're thinking. We're all sort of in these hive minds, right? These egregores, which I don't think are necessarily conscious entities. They could be. And I don't think it's necessarily all by design, but these ideas, they grow and then they start to sort of cross over each other, right? They start to build networks. And we can see this right now, especially because of all the different pockets and people who are identifying with this crew or identifying with that crew, when in reality, their set of values, their individualism, their own constitution, right? Or credo or value set, whatever, is not reflected in that group. Sooner or later, this structure is going to seek stability through extremes, right? Like it wants to go to the farthest extreme that it can and then establish itself and then constantly continue to feed on energy, more and more and more energy, and grow and grow and grow from there, right? And the more that happens, the more it's sort of cemented into our social structure. So these social Sorry, this is kind of heady. Social control structures start to sort of cement themselves into place, right? Now, here's the thing about it. Here's why any ism is really designed to control you. Because you're here, or here, or here, or here somewhere, right? And these isms are ideas that have been long since tried over and over and over again. And there's a group of people up here who, they don't care, right? Like, they don't care what ism you like. It's just another way to divide people and make them follow suit on another one of these, right? So there's this one versus this one, right? It's a perfect way to divide people. Here, these people hate these people now. And somehow there's something wrong with them, even though in reality they really are the same and probably have very similar value sets, right? Not necessarily the words can be put into those. A lot of times we're speaking different languages to each other, and that's a problem as well. But up here at the top of the pyramid, it doesn't matter. Communism, capitalism, fascism, it doesn't matter. It makes absolutely no difference if you're in the, sort of elite part of society, because you'll use whatever tool works to keep dominance over the crowd, right? So understanding that can hopefully allow us to notice some of the social structures that we're giving ourselves over to and losing ourselves maybe a little bit to. It's not that you don't have the same values as the people in that group. You do, but there's nuance and there are differences, right? And so we want to be very careful not to completely give ourselves over to something, especially because it's going to seek that most radical point, and we can get swept along with that if we don't recognize that it's sort of a thought stream, right? That we're in this ocean of energy. And so we're picking up on that, we're giving, it's coming back to us. And so it's a little bit of a give and take. But any ism can be used, to exploit the people, right? Like, it doesn't matter what political ideology that it is. It's designed specifically to set social control structures in place of a certain nature, right? It's like if it's monarchy or oligarchy or whatever, you have obedience to the king and you kneel and you kiss the ring. In a democracy, you go into a voting booth and you check off D or R or whatever. In a republic, it's supposed to be a little bit different, right? But I mean, the Chinese government's technically a republic, right? Like, I mean, so, oh no, buddy. Oh no. He's okay. Thank God. These are amazing, folks. If you like these little guys, go check out my friend Wendy Olson Art on Instagram, since I dropped him on the ground. And he's okay. I'll be sure to put a link in the video below. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of share this with you guys because, I'm so sick of all the infighting. We have to get on the same page. Love is really what it's all about. We're all one. All of that is true. We're also separate. So we get to live this crazy paradox, and start to understand what our society is, how we're contributing to it, and how we can make a difference. Because truly our attention, collectively, shapes the world around us, right? We are at the cause and not the effect. We give these things the power that they have or they don't, okay? If you don't legitimize something, or if a big enough group doesn't legitimize something with their attention and their energy, it's not legitimate, period. It can't be, right? I'd also like to point you to the book that I recently made, the audio book, The Politics of Obedience, that's on this channel. Please check that out. If you get a chance, listen to about the first 20 minutes of it and you'll have it. I mean, it's a really well-written book. It's a little wordy, but the philosopher is fantastic. And he talks a lot about how the only reason why there is an authority in the first place is because we agree to have one, right? As a society, as people here who can easily be, exploited, right? So ultimately, the aim of any of these systems that are created, that are systems of control, are designed to control. Simple as that, right? Simple as that, right? So anyway, let's get on the same page. Check me out on Patreon and talk about all kinds of weird stuff on there, and rant and do pseudo comedy, I guess, podcast comedy. Flying Squid Comedy here on YouTube. We're about to release a bunch of podcasts. And I don't know, I'm supposed to promote a bunch of stuff. Be good to each other, love each other, find the common ground between each other. Start to notice where you're giving your energy and attention to, what ism has got your attention, and what values do you have in common, and also what values do you say, hey, you know what, I've got to draw a personal boundary here because I don't really go along with this aspect of this idea, right? Cool. Thanks, everybody. Be sure to subscribe and like and all of that stuff, and we'll see you next time.